According to disaster historians, some of the deadliest explosions in human history did not happen during wars, but inside busy cities, on ordinary days when people least expected it. One such tragedy occurred in Bombay, India, in 1944, and even today, many people around the world have never heard of it. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel for powerful real-life disaster stories that uncover forgotten history and the lessons humanity learned too late. Today's video explores the 1944 Bombay Explosion, a catastrophe that devastated an entire city in just a few terrifying moments. In 1944, Bombay, now known as Mumbai, was one of the most important ports in British India. The world was deep into World War II, and Bombay had become a critical hub for transporting military supplies, ammunition, and fuel across the Indian Ocean. Despite wartime pressure, the city was alive. Markets were busy, trams moved through crowded streets, and ships filled the harbor every day. No one imagined that the city itself was sitting beside a ticking bomb. On April 14, 1944, a British cargo ship named SS Fort Stikine docked at Bombay's Victoria Dock. The ship carried a mixed and highly dangerous cargo: thousands of tons of cotton bales, ammunition and explosives, gold bullion, oil, and chemicals. Storing such a combination was extremely risky, but wartime urgency often ignored safety rules. As unloading began, smoke was suddenly noticed coming from the ship's cargo hold. Dock workers and firefighters rushed to control the fire. At first, it appeared manageable, but what many did not know was that explosives were hidden deep inside the ship, surrounded by cotton, a material that burns fiercely once ignited. Fire crews continued fighting the flames, unaware that every passing minute increased the danger. Crowds gathered nearby, watching what they believed was just another dock fire. At around 4:06 p.m., disaster struck. A massive explosion ripped through the SS Fort Stikine. The blast was so powerful that it lifted the ship out of the water, throwing pieces of metal hundreds of meters into the air. Buildings near the docks collapsed instantly. Windows shattered across the city. People kilometers away felt the ground shake. But the worst was yet to come. Just minutes later, a second explosion occurred, far more destructive than the first. This blast created a firestorm that swept through the dock area and nearby neighborhoods. Flaming debris rained down on homes, warehouses, and streets. Ships in the harbor were set ablaze. Trams were overturned. Entire blocks caught fire within seconds. Bombay had turned into a war zone, without enemy aircraft. The explosions killed thousands instantly. Fires spread uncontrollably through the densely populated areas surrounding the docks. Hospitals were overwhelmed. Roads were blocked by rubble. Communication systems failed. Many firefighters lost their lives while trying to contain the blaze. For hours, Bombay burned. Some fires continued for 3 full days before being brought under control. The official death toll remains uncertain. Estimates suggest at least 800 to 1,300 people were killed, though many historians believe the real number was much higher. Over 80,000 people were left homeless. Entire neighborhoods were destroyed. Families were wiped out. Livelihoods vanished overnight. For many survivors, the trauma lasted a lifetime. Several factors made the 1944 Bombay explosion exceptionally deadly. Dangerous cargo was poorly labeled. Fire crews were not informed about the explosives. Cotton bales intensified the fire. Dense urban housing surrounded the docks. Wartime secrecy delayed evacuation decisions. This combination turned a controllable fire into a citywide catastrophe. Despite the devastation, Bombay showed remarkable resilience. Civilians, soldiers, volunteers, and medical staff worked together to rescue survivors and fight fires. Temporary shelters were built. Food was distributed. Injured victims were treated wherever possible. Even during war, humanity rose from the ashes. The Bombay Explosion forced authorities to rethink port safety worldwide. Stricter regulations were introduced for transporting hazardous materials, labeling dangerous cargo, dockyard fire preparedness. The disaster became a case study in industrial and port safety, influencing global maritime laws. Despite its scale, the 1944 Bombay Explosion faded from global memory. World War II dominated headlines. Larger battles overshadowed civilian tragedies. But for Bombay, this disaster was one of the darkest days in its history. Remembering it is essential, not for fear, but for awareness. Today, cities are even more crowded. Ports are larger. Cargo is more complex. The Bombay Explosion reminds us that human error combined with secrecy can be as deadly as natural disasters. Transparency, safety training, and preparedness are not optional. They save lives. The 1944 Bombay Explosion was not caused by an enemy attack or natural force. It was caused by neglected safety, rushed decisions, and hidden dangers. And yet, from tragedy came lessons that continue to protect millions today. History only protects us when we remember it. The docks were rebuilt, the city moved on. But the echo of that explosion still warns the world. Safety ignored always demands a price.